All right, welcome back. This is another edition of our quick cast series where we're getting to know some of the ANBF promoters for 2025 and hopefully well beyond that. This episode, we have Scott Fleurant, and he's up in Maine, right?
Yep.
So let's start off with you giving a brief introduction to the audience. Tell us who you are, what you're about. I know everyone up there knows, but now that you're with the ANBF, there's some people who were probably interested in getting to know you, getting to know about your show. So why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Hello, everybody. My name is Scott Fleurant, and I've been around bodybuilding since I was a teenager, which was a really long time ago.
Hmm.
Um, and I stopped competing maybe 10-ish, little over 10, about 10 years ago. And as an extension of my competitive career, I got into promoting. I saw a lot of things over the years when I was competing that I thought could have been done better, particularly when it came to the competitor experience. And it's something I kind of threw my hat into the arena and started promoting in 2012.
Okay.
And I've promoted since. So I'm 12 years in. Grown a lot, learned a lot, but the focus has never changed. It's always been on the competitor and spectator experience.
Yeah. I mean, that's when I was doing my research about you, that was one of the things that people who had done your show or any coaches I knew, they always focused on that, the competitor experience, even the spectators, what you bring to a show, the details that you bring to the event. So that was one of the big things that I was hearing from, the coaches and athletes that had been to your show. Some of my clients also know you, have judged at your shows or have competed in your shows. So I always had that information. Even when the talks initially first started, I had that information to go on.
Well, I'm glad it was good.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so why don't you take us through a little bit with that in terms of what do you look to do that's either different, or what is your approach and avenue that makes that competitor and even spectator experience a little different? Like what do you try to focus on?
Uh, Multiple things, really. Efficiency at check-in. I mean, as a competitor, I've been to check-ins where you knew the show was going to be terrible from your check-in experience.
Oh yeah.
So right from the get-go, check-ins, paperwork, dotting your I's, crossing your T's, making the judge's life as easy as possible and making the MC's life as easy as possible also helps facilitate a quick moving and enjoyable show. But beyond that, I've tried to bring in entertainment value in terms of I've had guests at various shows over the year. It's not something you can do every year,
Yeah.
but it's something that I've done when I can. I have a food van present, which a lot of shows, especially the long format shows where you have a prejudging and a finals, two separate shows. That's a long day,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and I've had a food van present for most of my years as a promoter, just to kind of make life easier for people. Um, I started, I think, before most shows did. Shows were always cash. When people were walking in for tickets, I started implementing like Swipe and Venmo and all those sorts of things to kind of speed things up. And not everybody carried cash with them. During COVID, I wish it's something I'd done before. Uh, but my roots were always split shows, prejudging and finals, and that's what I was used to. So initially, that's what I did. But during COVID, where you had to turn the facility over quick because you couldn't have too many people in the venue at a time, I started doing a split format with a men's show and a
Yeah.
women's show.
Like cohorts. Yeah.
Yeah, cohorts. Exactly. I didn't even know what that used to be
Yeah. Yeah.
called.
Well,
But
that's
it's
what
that.
Nancy called it. So we just
Yeah,
ran with that. It was like we ran it in cohorts.
yeah. So that's what I do now, and I know as a when I used to compete, I didn't want the show to be over like that because I worked really hard for that and I wanted to enjoy the experience, but I also didn't want to be there for 12 hours
It's a
and
sweet spot.
certainly not people that come to watch you.
Yeah.
Um, So I tried to find ways to facilitate the show moving faster, and that was one of the ways.
Yeah, I think everything comes down to the sweet spot. You don't want to feel, I started to feel that certain events started confusing rushing with efficiency. It's
Yeah,
like people don't diet hard and put all that work and spend all that money to be rushed.
yeah,
Rushing and being efficient are two different things.
yeah,
And there is that sweet spot. You don't want to feel rushed. You want to give people their time, but you don't want it to be too much. You don't want certain things to drag on, and certain things are always going to happen. It's always going to be an issue. Oh, this one's got to go to the bath. That happens. But if there's lack of efficiency plus those things happening, that's where you have your nightmare scenarios where some
yeah,
of these shows are just running way too long with no reason for it and there's no benefit to it running that long. So
yeah.
I totally get what you're saying in that regard. So if you're focusing on details and efficiency, then I feel like you're already uh, by far in the right direction because that's what a lot of people are, looking for. They are looking for that. I feel like they're looking for personal touches. They want to feel like they are part of something personal, not just a drone pop-up show with just, like when you feel like there's a personality to a show, that's what I feel like is going to draw in more people. So if
Yeah.
we pivot to that personality aspect, let's talk about your awards. So
Okay.
you have awards that are very well known. Okay, I always knew of them too, the Thor hammers. So why don't you talk us through one, when you started to do that, why you decided to do that, and focus also on the quality of the award.
So back in 2000, after my event in 2013, so I'd completed 2 years of promoting. I started looking into some kind of signature award for my event.
Hmm.
And in 2014, I did have signature awards. They weren't the hammers, and they were cool, but they weren't really what I was looking for. So I really thought long and hard about what I wanted to do. And at the time, there were other promoters within my organization that had they had two shows. One show was an axe, and the other one was a sword, and they were amazing awards. So I certainly wasn't going to get an axe or a sword. And I'm like, well, what would be as cool or cooler than those? And the Marvel movies were huge at the time. And I was like, I had an epiphany one day and Thor hammer.
Yeah.
And I started researching Thor hammers. And initially, all I could find was like plastic replicas and just kind of toys essentially. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had no interest, but I came across this fella named Clay Williams, and he brings hammers in from overseas and completely details, etches, everything that you can imagine to these hammers. And they're basically what you see in the Thor movie. They're as close as you're going to get to that. They weigh about 15 pounds.
Damn.
They cost about $600 each, so they are pretty expensive, but they're worth every penny. They've evolved over the years. The first few years, they were different materials and different looks. But after a few years of that, I decided that I wanted it to look as much like an actual, like you see in the movie, Thor hammer as possible. And that's what they are. And I have people that have my biggest year promoting, I had 14 states represented. I think it was 14. It may have been more. People from California, Germany, Canada, and they were coming for the hammer.
Yeah.
Not even so much for a cash award or for a pro qualifying status or any of that sort of things. Everybody was about the hammer, so it's just kind of stuck. And for as long as I promote, I'm probably going to carry those.
Yeah. I mean, I like the idea of that signature award. I'm nothing against the people who do it. Like if that's your style, that's fine. I'm just not into the trophy stuff. Especially for overall. That's just my personal thing. A lot of people like the big Niels Andersons. Those are fine. That's great, but it's not my style. For my overall or pro overall awards, I wanted something very cool and special and different. I've not announced what those are yet. That announcement will be coming, but it intrigued me, the hammers and that representation. It is something different. It is unique and it is, well sought after. So that is, I think, a good hallmark of a show to have that personality and to have that type of award given away. So that's 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 something that should draw, I'm hoping, people to the show and to want to compete. Like you said, some people are coming just to win the hammer. They don't care about anything else. Hopefully we get plenty of those. Um, so
And to be clear, they're for the open overall winners and the pro winners. They're not for everybody.
yes, okay, well, that's the thing too. It's like with my awards too. Of course, I'd want to give out a ton of them, but you gotta give it to certain level of people because if you don't, then it takes away the prestige of the award.
Yeah,
So I get exactly what you're saying there. Um, let's circle back to 12 years, right?
12 years.
So
Yep.
12 years, so you definitely have had success in the industry and promoting. This year is going to be different. This is a definitely a fresh start for a lot of people. It is definitely a going to be a little bit of an uphill climb, but I think we'll make our way out. We just got to put our shoulder to the wheel and put on good events and do it. So with that being said, with the changes, with your move to ANBF, what would you define as success year one? Because essentially this is a new game now. You can have any
It's very much
yep,
so.
yeah,
I
it's
mean, it's not even just a new show in New England. ANBF hasn't really had a big stronghold, and certainly not in Maine.
yeah,
So this is like a new entity altogether. Um, I don't know if I want to define success by a number of competitors. I would judge success by competitor feedback and how that goes into year two.
yep,
It's basically planting a seed and watering that seed and giving it what it needs to grow. And if it's anything like when I started initially, if I close to double in size in 1 year from year one to year two, that's what I'll consider a success.
yeah. Which is
So,
which is good. Get the people there, plant that seed, put on a great event, get the content, and then be able to show people like this is what we do and this is what we provide.
yeah,
I mean, I'm essentially in the same boat. This will be my first year promoting, and yes,
yeah.
I am taking over a very well-known person shows and well-known shows, but it still is doesn't matter. It is a new game. You can't base the future on past successes. It is a new game, really, for all of us. But I agree with your approach to how you want to try to define, success this season. So that's good.
You know,
Uh,
success in year one doesn't show until year two. Do you know what I mean? Based on
exactly.
your word of mouth and all that
Ex-
stuff and return competitors and so on and so forth.
Exactly. So if we had to talk about a vision for the sport, what do you think in terms of that? What do you see for the sport of natural bodybuilding? What do you hope to see with the AMBF in the next 2 years, 5 years? What do you think if you're looking into the future? You've been around for 12 years, plus before that you were involved in the sport. So what do you see moving forward, or what do you hope to see?
I'd like to see the ANBF and the promoters within the ANBF, the organization as a whole, grow in a way that can provide another outlet for competitors. I believe that having multiple options as a competitor is good for the competitor, but it also makes the organizations themselves better because competition brings out the best in you. And if you're not able to rise to the occasion, that organization is going to fall to the wayside. So I'd like to see the ANBF grow in a manner that provides great competitor experiences, provides additional competitor avenues to get to wherever it is that they want to get with their career, and ultimately betters all the existing organizations. Um, and in doing that, and then filters out the ones that aren't providing the best experience possible.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. I don't Everyone talks about, oh, we need one big central. It's like, no, I don't believe in a unipolar world. I like a bipolar world. I like the Cold War. That's what I focused on. You know, two people, they keep each other on each other's toes. Right now, everything is a little too sectioned up and fractioned. There's too many people who I think personally should probably go away.
Mhm.
I do not believe in the unipolar world, though. I do believe in that healthy competition. I do believe that people should work together to an extent. The people who deserve to be in the game, I think, should work together. So I definitely agree with that mindset, and that's why I got involved. That's because I wanted to make certain changes, and everyone thought, oh, he's going to start his own thing. No, 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 because you don't know my mission statement. My mission and my goal and my quest is not to just create something else to split the pie. I'm in this for other reasons. I'm in this for other reasons, and those reasons are to try to clean up some of that mess. I want to put on those great events, and I want to be able to help the ANBF in any way that I can. And the ANBF was a great fit for me. It doesn't bring something new to the table in terms of a new organization. It was already there. It's been there for 10 years. So it was the perfect fit. And that is part of hopefully my vision also for the next couple of years, 2, 5, 10, where we can start to hopefully clean up some of the stuff and there's less choices, but still choices. And the choices are very healthy choices. People who are putting out good shows. They have good, well trained promoters. They have people who are putting out good posters and good content and good awards and on top of things and paying attention to detail, making sure the check-in is good, keeping the coaches in the know, keeping the athletes in the know. This stuff seems like just common sense, but you'd be very surprised how many promoters and how many organizations don't do that type of stuff.
Yeah,
Those are the people I feel, I'm here for a reason.
yeah. I
You know,
mean, even within an organization, right? So I supported the other shows and promoters in my organization, and if I could help with them, that would be great. I would help, but at the same time, I wanted to have the best show in my organization, and I thought the same way as I mentioned about individual organizations, promoters that weren't cutting it, adios, because if a competitor does your show and it's a bad experience,
experience, yeah.
they're going to assume all the other shows in that organization are the same.
I'm of the same thinking. So I'm with you. I'm with you with that. So with all that being said, we covered all the good stuff. If you had to say a few more things, one thing, whatever, to people who are thinking about doing your show or now with other eyes on it, what do you have to say to potential competitors who want to do your show?
I guess if you don't know anything about me and you're a potential competitor, the thing to know is, I've competed in my teens, 20s, 30s, 40s. Haven't done my 50s yet,
Hmm.
but I've been around a while, and I try to approach my promotion through the competitor's eyes. I've been to shows where staff have been mean to competitors and almost bully them. And, you're never going to see that at one of my shows. I will inundate you with info before the show, maybe a little overkill. But if you're prepared and your coach is prepared on show day, it makes my life easier, my staff life's easier, and your life easier. So I try to be very focused on details like Ryan, having you over prepared for the show. Not everything's always going to be perfect. There'll be mistakes, and I'll admit those, but I will go out of my way to make for the best experience possible. And I do really put a lot of focus into my staff because I can't be everywhere at once, and I'm only
Yep.
as good as my staff is going to be. And I've been fortunate up here in Maine where, for the most part, I've had a very consistent staff year to year that know what I like. They know what the competitors need, and it's a kind of a win-win. So
I like that. I like that.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm the I'm on the same track. Like provide the details. And you know what? Maybe some people aren't gonna care or want those details, but there will if you cover everything, then you're covered.
yeah, exactly.
If
Yep,
someone doesn't want to look or they don't care, then they don't care. But
and that's on them.
Everything is there. Everything is there for you. And if people always know what's going on, that is what leads to a better experience for the athletes and then the coaches too. As a coach, going to certain shows, if it's a mess, it's like, why do I want to come here? I'm going to come here, spend the time. We're all going to spend money to go into this show. Then it's a mess. Then I look bad. Okay.
Yeah.
Because if the show is unorganized, and this is why I stopped going to certain shows, it's like, oh, Ryan, why'd you stop coming? Because I can't go there. You're making me look like a fool. I'm not a fool. I am very organized and detailed on show day. But if you're a mess, and then I don't know what's going on, and then someone's rushing, or we miss this, or we don't have enough time for this, or this is miscalculated. You switch the classes. There's three different order of events for the same show floating around in the same room. Now I look like a fool because not every competitor knows the ins and outs of like, oh well, this show's a mess, so it's not really my coach's fault. Some people are like, well, my coach missed this, or this was a shit show, wasn't organized. It's like I'm never going to put myself in. If I do something wrong, then I do something wrong. Okay. And I'll own up to it. Like you said, you own up to it. But I never want to be in a position where everything's a mess and then I don't know what's going on because it's impossible to know. If you don't know what's going on, then I don't know what's going on. If I don't know what's going on, my athletes don't know what's going on. And then I potentially could be in trouble or on the chopping block because of stuff that I can't control. So I am in a big agreement with that. It's been one of my main criticisms and complaints, and probably why I've gone to social media so many times, because it's like, as coaches, we want to go there and support you, but you're making me not.
Yeah.
You're making me not because you're providing a bad or unorganized experience that stresses everyone out. And then at the end of the day, why would you come back? So anyone who's organized and puts out good lists and good information flow, like you're saying, that's what the coaches and athletes should gravitate towards. Sometimes not even just the banner of the organization. It's like, what promoter is going to take care of me in terms of like, I know what's going on and I'm going to have a good experience and have a good time. It is a service. You're paying to be in the show.
Right.
And yes, you're performing, but the promoter is supposed to put on a service. It's supposed to
Yeah.
work both ways. There is supposed to be this relationship between and the dance between the promoter and the coaches and the athletes. It's only fair.
Yep.
So all right, I feel like we got everything covered there. Where would people go, website, if they want to more information or to register?
Very simple. The ANBFmain.com.
There we go. So
Easy to remember.
take the time to check that out. The show is April 12th, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Saturday, April 12th. Yep.
So April 12th, check out that website, get the information, get those registrations in, and let's get this cooking.
All right, brother.
All right,
Thank you.
Scott.